How do you imagine the future?
Jarvis from Iron Man.
You are not authorized to access this area.
Jesus.
That's Jarvis. He runs the house.
Where's the cutoff point? Like, we always have to have humans in the loop, right? To give us that good content that's actually accurate and not rely on AI. So,
but for how long?
Welcome to Create Before Consume. Now, here's your host, Fitz.
Welcome to Create Before Consume, a podcast from creators for creators. And today I got a special guest. We got here the AI consultant. Yeah, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, well, thank you, Fitz. My name is Marcus McGee. I am the founder of the AI Consulting Lab. I help people do more with less effort.
I love that. And AI is one of those buzzwords where everybody is just like kind of annoying. I don't know how you feel, because you create content on TikTok, Instagram, and you're probably on all the other platforms too, or?
I mean, I am, but it doesn't mean that I'm active.
I got you. But basically, yeah, what does the general public think about like AI? Because like you're in the niche. What is the response?
Well, I think you first have to figure out like the general public is a lot smaller than you probably think.
Yeah.
The numbers a few months ago were 0.0 or 2.28% of the world had a ChatGPT account. It was like over 100 million accounts or something like that, and then the number drops to 0.00028% for people that are paying for ChatGPT 4, so it's a really small amount of people. But when you look at the entire world, like it's still a lot. It's still a lot of people that don't know about it and aren't talking about it, even though it may feel like everybody's on it and it's a buzzword. If you zoom out a bit, not everybody's thinking about it.
Yeah, and I think like that is like one of the other things too. Like, what does that even mean? Like, what is AI for you in general, and how do you help with people with AI, and what are the benefits and all of that?
So AI is a very vague term.
Yeah.
TikTok is AI, your Spotify is AI, banking algorithms, anything with an algorithm can be considered AI. It's what we consider generative AI is ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and Copilot and things like that. And that just came on the scene. The original technology came out from Google in 2017 for the GPT, the Transformer paper. So it only recently caught steam when ChatGPT launched, right? And so what does that mean, and how are people using that? Most people will know AI now as ChatGPT and just the image creators and like the video creators that are coming out.
Yeah.
And so there's a wide application of what you can use them in for everyday purposes.
Yeah. So basically, you're helping businesses doing probably more with less in a way with AI. What are those? What does that even mean? Like, and what are the implications? How do you help them?
Yeah. So, for example, I have an attorney client that spends a lot of time writing declarations for trafficking cases, and they wanted to use ChatGPT to help them out, and they had kind of started to do that earlier in the year, and they ran into issues with the actual ChatGPT platform not producing the content, because the type of trafficking cases they do, it's a lot of graphic stuff, right? It's a lot of sexual content, and the filters for OpenAI won't let you produce that kind of stuff. So they came to me, and we kind of went through and figured out what do they want to do, what are the ways we can approach this, and throughout the course of about 6 months, we developed a solution to where it's a custom-trained GPT that has special prompting that will allow them to bypass the content filters and produce the content from the client's first-person perspective to write the draft declaration. So a process that would normally take 9 hours or so got significantly shorter. In fact, the client actually said, from the rough initiation of it, it's saving them about 2 hours per person across a team of about 15. It's totaled up to about 7,800 work hours per year.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, so that is actually like a big number in like saving time and money, because like obviously money and time are very correlated. What is like, because so there's so much happening in AI, and we already talked about it a little bit. Yep. You have it on the table, and it's just like, let's start like with the elephant in the room. Microsoft came out with like Copilot, and go a little bit into detail on what we have here.
So I'm really excited about Copilot and where kind of the industry is headed from a day-to-day practical use case standpoint. This is a Copilot PC. It's a Samsung Galaxy Book, and I really don't have as much information as you probably want, because I just got it yesterday. They just shipped them out, but essentially they have these dedicated Copilot keys. keys. And that means that you can pop open Copilot anywhere on your computer, and it can take actions on the computer, I think. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But you can interact with it just like you would on the web, right? So questions about how the PC operates, or how to do a certain setting, or how to do just any general purpose, asking a general purpose question, you've got it as a dedicated key, which I think is kind of cool because I use Copilot all the time. It's kind of replaced my search with Google.
Yeah.
In most cases, so to have it right there as a hotkey is pretty awesome.
Yeah, so that's also like actually like a good segue, because like now we're jumping lanes a little bit, because like when you go into Google right now, you type in whatever, you get an AI thing. You go on Facebook, there's an AI thing. Even summarizing, like everything becomes AI.
Yep.
So can you talk a little bit about what are like the benefits of that and where you see it going?
I don't know if there's benefits to it right now, especially if we're talking about the Google thing, because they actually got a lot of flack recently with rolling out the AI generated search snippets, even though the product has been in beta for months. It's been in beta for like 8 months. I've been using the AI previews, and I found them in the beta pretty helpful. But there's been a lot of negative press recently because I don't know if you read this or not, right?
There's some memes.
Yeah, the memes, the Google AI search snippets were telling people to
do all sorts
eat
of
rocks, right? And they were quoting the Onion articles, right? And the recommended intake of rocks for proper gizzard functioning or something like that. So I don't know how it got so bad from the beta to the actual Prime version, but it's going to be a problem for those types of things, because not many people are going, or I don't want to say not many people, but a lot of people are just going to go with what they think is right. And if they don't get that right, there's going to be a lot of misinformation that's put out in the world.
I like the fact that you think people think. Because sometimes it's just like, they read it and it's like, that's a fact. Google said so. So how do you double check?
So it's difficult, right? You have to be diligent about it. Perplexity is another AI tool that I really love a lot. And if I'm coming up with new information or trying to find topical information like news sources, I'm going to Perplexity first, because it is essentially doing the same thing as those Google overview snippets, but it's actually scouring like 30 sources across the web and compiling them all together, then running that through a large language model to give you the output. And they do a good job of linking the sources in each of the areas that they do it. So the challenge is that we're still seeing inaccuracies in the information that's coming out. So it's difficult. The short answer is it's difficult, right? I had to prepare for a training for one of my clients yesterday, and they were looking for examples of chatbots that were used in industrial manufacturing, and like they wanted to see some other companies that were doing it. Asked Perplexity, and it gave me a bunch of sources that looked really good. And then when I actually clicked through to the annotations and the citations, not a single mention of it on the page. So big problem. We haven't quite figured it out yet.
I feel like this is like the weird part now, where it's like we have a due diligence to double check what AI does, but it's also like really hard because most people are under time pressure, and they're just like, I just want it working, and just like copy paste like the students do what they shouldn't do.
And it's also a pretty big challenge too, because like not everybody is going to be that diligent. They don't care. I hate being wrong. And that's primarily the reason why I go so far in depth, especially if I'm like trying to argue a point or something. And when I'm creating content, I definitely don't want to be wrong about that, right? So I went and did the due diligence to look on those pages and Control F. I even went in to inspect the page, the code behind it, and see if I could find the company name that said they was using the chatbots, and I couldn't find it. I think a lot of people will probably stop well below that. Right. They wouldn't chase that down the rabbit hole, and they think that they sourced it, but they didn't do enough due diligence.
This is like kind of deep too, because like now it goes into like, do you even have to disclose it? On the one side there's the ethical, but what is the legal thing? And I'm like, I use AI sometimes in like voiceovers, and I love it. There's like 11 labs, and it's like, oh, I'm getting a really good voiceover. If I don't like it, redo, and there's no person involved, super fast. So can you go a little bit into that? What you think is like ethical, or what you think like is like the where it's heading, or what it is? And
we're kind of headed towards a mess, honestly.
Yeah.
So disclosing if it's AI generated, I think is overall, there's probably a fine line, because if you think about what are some of the innocent use cases that you do, and even then that might be argued by a lot of folks, because they would say, well, there are no innocent use cases because the models were trained off of artist data that wasn't licensed, that wasn't paid for, text data, things like that. So even if you would consider it innocent use cases, people could argue against that. But definitely not ethical to I'm going to wrestle with this a little bit.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's a tough one, because I was going to say, like, chatbots for customer service, lead generation, follow-up, stuff like that. I do a lot of that with some of my clients, and some of them will say in the bot, you're okay, you can say you're a bot, and some of them want to act like it's an actual person.
Yeah.
OpenAI directly says you should never try to obscure the fact that it's AI. You will see more tools that are seeing watermark detection for AI in text and video and images, and just overall more transparency about that. So I don't think in the long run it's probably good to hide the fact that it's AI generated.
I like that, because like I feel like nowadays, like obviously AI is like one of those topics where it's like it goes very, very quickly, very, very dark, and there's certain paths that are like happy and this is a great tool, let's do it. But with that being said, it's just like now it's more about like community and trust. And if you have a platform on social media like you do, you have trust with your folks. You know, they're watching your stuff and you don't want to ruin it. I kind of want to go now into that though. So how did you get started with like creating content?
Do you want to talk about the 4 years that I was stuck at 250 followers?
Yeah, go.
So I started my agency in 2019. I've got 12 years of digital marketing experience with a couple of the largest media companies in the country. And then in 2019, I started my own agency. And I was focusing on Google Ads and Facebook Ads management and some other general marketing stuff. COVID hit, and I got the opportunity to join a startup here in Tampa. That's actually what brought me over here, was that startup. But we were this was a startup that was a third-party valuation supposed to be $60 to $100 million, and I was the third person involved, right? So that for me meant, all right, we got to go all in on it, right? And that process led me to discovering a lot of what Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels does, the teachings that he has about how marketing works, funnels, things like that. And then I really just expanded a lot of my knowledge. But while I was doing that, his whole mission or message was, you need to be creating content.
Yeah.
You need to be putting content out. I was listening to a lot of Gary Vee at the time as well. Content.
Yeah.
So in 2019, I believe, or early 2020, one of the two, I started posting content on TikTok and was stuck at 250 views for since I started the account in 2020 and all the way up until November of 2023. It's not, people didn't care about marketing content, I guess. But then ChatGPT came out and I started posting stuff about prompts and practical hacks and things like that. Really wasn't getting a ton of traction. And then in November, when they announced the GPT store, that's when I got my first little boost, because I was able to hit like the make money online crowd. I was just a quick short video. If you wanted to make money with ChatGPT, today is your lucky day, because that was the day that they announced the GPT store and saying like you can get paid for this. Because I had already been building like custom GPTs just using regular ChatGPT and a prompt on a worksheet that was custom built for the client, and it essentially worked like a GPT, and I taught them how to do it, and I was selling that, right? And so when they came out with GPTs, I was able to just take all of those and put them in the custom instructions and then deliver that to the client. And so I'd already monetized that process, and that was even easier, and that's what I made the video about, and it kind of took off from there.
So let's go right into that, because like I think this is also like kind of interesting, you know, like obviously you found your niche, you know, and then like you kind of doubled down, I assume, like TikTok worked, and then it's like, let's make more TikTok. What were the outcome of like, you know, generating videos and that generating XYZ? So what were the things that came from social media?
I think everybody that has any type of like desire at all really to do any social media content or posting online kind of dreams about having that viral moment or having a video go viral and seeing the examples of other people's lives being changed. I never really went into it like that. I just wanted to put it out there to hopefully get new clients and things like that. But some of the cool things that's happened is that I've had the director of a foreign government's entire operation like reach out to me and schedule me, and they flew me out to Abu Dhabi to do a training for their department. So I would say that is by far the most crazy thing that's happened out of my content posting on TikTok.
I love it because like for me as a videographer, you know, this is like in my pitch deck. I'm like, content matters, but it is like such a superficial thing to say when you're like, oh yeah, you got to do content, and then you get a couple hundred views or maybe 1,000, nothing is happening. But there's obviously clear cases where it's like, oh no, this actually does something.
Yeah, for sure. And like that's not the only thing that's happened too, right? So I have another client that's this major global corporation that does billions of dollars of revenue every year, and same thing. One of the directors of the holdings group for the 5 subsidiaries in the world for North America reached out to me from TikTok on an email. We scheduled a call, and he met with me. He had a specific idea of what he wanted to do in mind. He wanted to transcribe some videos and ask questions about a training. And I basically just had him send me the video, and I did it. And he was like, yes, we definitely want to learn more about this. So that's another really good use case as well.
Damn. Yeah, so this kind of reminds me now, like, when I hear all those things, I'm like, obviously there's people who are less technical inclined, you know, and some are, like, really nerdy, and they're installing, like, LGM models on their computer, and they're doing all the above, and it's like, some of the stuff you can, like, learn by yourself, so it's not like that you went to school for AI. How did you get started, and how you keep up?
I didn't learn. I taught all of myself all of this stuff, right? Like I said, I have a background in marketing, and I have a pretty extensive business background at this point. I have owned a franchise Donutshop that ultimately didn't work out. I got to meet with hundreds of clients through my tenure in corporate America, and that's actually where I think I honed the best part of my skill set, is that I had to ask a lot of questions to come up with really creative solutions to sell marketing and advertising packages, because the things that I was selling wasn't super popular in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They weren't really tech forward, and I was selling kind of a new digital product. And so I had to come really good with coming up with new and creative solutions to get them to, you know, get their message out there. So when it comes to the AI stuff, the other part of my superpower is I feel like I can make technology work without having to do much reading of the technology manuals and things like that. So software. And as all these AI tools just started coming out, I just started playing with them, installing them, YouTube videos, walking through help videos, things like that. And one of the most underrated tools, I actually will tell you, is I dove into Microsoft Copilot Studio, which is kind of a rebranded version of Power Automate in so many words, for one of my client projects. And that was a big challenge. I had a lot of challenge with that. But every time I had an issue with making something happen inside of Power Automate, I would take a screenshot of what I was doing, and I would go over to Copilot, and I'd drop the screenshot in, and I'd say, I have an issue here. What's wrong? Copilot would give me its thoughts. Okay, well, it seems like this is wrong. You actually need to put it this way. Take it back into Copilot Studio, try it again, got another error message, another screenshot, repeat the process, and throughout that process, Copilot will go, oh, all right, well, looks like you didn't put this character here, or this character is supposed to be in this configuration. And so it helped me create all these different codes and learn all these skills for how to implement these AI tools. So all this stuff is AI. It's just like self-taught, right? And videos, YouTubes, tutorials, courses, things like that. There's a lot of that that's out right now, especially for free. And you can do a lot with just the base, like ChatGPT or Gemini, that's free for a lot of folks, and you can learn a lot just from doing that.
So this is now the dark side of it. It's like every week there's like those AI news channels, you know, and it's like every week new presentation, new features, new this. This is better now than that, and like, oh, you have to jump ship. And it feels like, you know, in the tech industry, it's like every year comes a new camera out, and then you switch maybe whatever, and then you have to buy everything new. That is like doable. Smartphones as well, once a year. But we're at a pace where it's like every week or even half week, there's a better tool, different thing. How you stay up to date?
God, I struggle. Let me just say that I struggle. My TikTok consumption helped a lot. Right, I get a lot of news from TikTok about the AI specific industry, and I just kind of infiltrated like my life with it. I started following more, obviously, AI content on TikTok and other social platforms. My Google feed has got a lot of AI stuff, and so I just started surrounding myself with it. There are times when I don't keep up, right? There are times when I just like completely missed something. I think for the Sora announcement, I was like 5 days late making my
Yeah.
video, and I said, well, I'm not going to not make a video. Let me just put it out there. But it's difficult, right? And I think that it's going to become even more difficult as the next couple of years play out, because a lot of the leading AI researchers in the field are pointing to the same conclusion, that these models are about to rapidly accelerate. Like,
Yeah.
Dario Amodei of Anthropic came out and said that we can see artificial general intelligence in within 5 years, and that AI systems will be dangerous enough to cause catastrophic harm within 18 to 24 months.
So this is going into the dark direction. We
Yeah.
gotta. So my goal for today is like, whenever
Keep
we
it
go
light.
into the dark, we can go there, and then we take a step back and
For
try
sure.
to find the hope. Because like, you're right, but I'm also like thinking those numbers with like 5 years. I'm like, in 1 year, so much happened, and I don't believe there's much more needed in a way, because like, those models are really cool and all, but they're also not really the smartest. Like, but obviously that has a lot to do with the prompt. So I think we should go into prompts a little bit, because there's probably a ton of people using AI, and they're like, it's not good. You know, that's basically a general experience. Like, oh, doesn't give me a right answer there. Doesn't give me answers to X, Y, Z. What is really important for me, like lawyers, doctors' advice, whatever.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yeah, so prompting I think will change as the models do get smarter. But for right now, prompting does still have a good amount to do with it. And I think I agree with you when people say, oh, it's not really that smart. A lot of people probably hold that opinion because their only interaction with it was with ChatGPT 3.5, which compared to GPT-4 is pretty significantly worse, right? Especially after GPT-4 launched. Like, when ChatGPT first rolled out and there weren't as many guardrails because there wasn't as many eyes on it, I was getting really, really good content out of just base ChatGPT 3.5. And when 4 got introduced, you saw a significant change. Like, GPT 3.5 sucked at that point, right? And so that was the free one. And most people got experience with ChatGPT using that. And the challenge is that they didn't know how to prompt it, and so they did one or two different things, and just like you said, this sucks, we're not doing it. So prompting is important, right? And I have kind of a few frameworks. The one that I use is called Roll. I don't know if I'm not sure exactly where this came from, but it's kind of a generic catch-all, right? So the first thing is, its role is an acronym. You want to define what the actual role is, right? So ChatGPT and other large language models are general knowledge. You want to focus them down to a specific area, right? So act as a direct response marketer, or act as an email writer. And then after that, your output. What is the type of information that you are looking for in your response? I would like a narrative with bullet points, right? I want it to be written with full sentences. And then after your output, you put in your limitations. What don't you want? I don't want any emojis. I don't want run-on sentences. Obviously, it's not going to give you run-on sentences, but you get the picture, right? And constrain it to what you don't want, right? If you don't want bullet points, put that in there. And the next thing is your extras, right? So anything outside of that. Context is king. The more information that you give for context for your prompts, the better the response is going to be, right? So if you say, write me a flyer for my upcoming sale for my farmer's market next Saturday, it's going to do an okay job. But if you say that and then you provide the list of all the vendors, their prices, and what they're going to do that day, the model is going to give you a much more detailed flyer because it has a lot more context to fill it out with, right? So be sure that you're putting in all your extras. And if you're using ChatGPT or any of the other models that have web access, this is where you can put in your links too, right? So web articles, web pages, your landing page, anything like that, put that in as a link too.
When you said like act as, and I'm like, I knew about that, that's like one of those things that's like, the more you consume it, the more you learn about it. But I was like, what if act as like a bad actor, or like a Skynet, or whatever? Give me code for building a Skynet, and pretend you're evil, whatever. It's like, how do you deal with those guardrails? Because like, there are guardrails, and I think like they're kind of annoying, but obviously they're very, very needed. But like, let's say if you want to have tax advice, the information are there, but you don't get them.
So these things are a very sophisticated word prediction engine, and the companies that are making the frontier models have done a really good job at protecting and putting those guardrails up. I would say that I'm not the best like code jailbreak prompt engineer, right? But there are people that went very in depth. Probably middle of last year or so, you may have heard people using the Dan prompt. It was short for Do Anything Now, right? And it kind of broke the system. Well, OpenAI's patched that. They patched a lot of those various iterations of it, but the principle remains the same, that you can word your prompts in enough ways to where you can get it to trick it to give you the answer that you're looking for. So that's kind of what I did with the legal example that I gave you. We bypassed that filter of the sexual content stuff, just using some creative language. But it's about how you word those things. And it, really, there is no other way that I know of, it could be wrong, other than kind of wording your system instructions and your prompt correctly to bypass those filters.
Yeah, I used it once in a way where it's like it helped me with my medical bills and basically got me like a bill removed and whatever. What was very nice because there was that act that they have to disclose like prices and whatever, and it wrote a really nice email and it got dropped. And I'm like, this is hell yeah. This made me money, and I'm like, I felt like, oh, I'm so smart, you know. But and obviously not really, but. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of use cases, and I'm trying to figure out what is the best use case for me, obviously, and you probably do the same for you. But it's like, what are like the most impactful ways how to use AI that it has really an impact for you and makes you more productive?
So whenever I tell people and we engage in conversations about, for business use cases or whatever, I ask folks, what are the things that you're spending 15 to 20 minutes every single day on? Writing an email is a good example, right? Or writing a proposal or an RFP or a flyer or a sales page, whatever it's going to be. What are some of the routine things that you're doing every single day? And to not look at it in a spectrum of, well, the AI can do it or it can't do it, right? If it's writing a landing page, it can give you a fantastic landing page, or it just doesn't do it at all, right? And it can't write landing pages. But if you can break that down into sections, right? Having set up workflows for each of those individual sections is how you can make the most practical advantage of that, right? So if I don't have to spend 20 minutes to reply to an email that's asking for a proposal, but instead I have my proposal, like all the elements that are included, my pricing, my deliverables, how I work with people, I can go into Microsoft or ChatGPT and say, here's the template, here's the email from the client and the details from the meeting. Write me a response to this email and fill out the proposal. So that would have taken 30 minutes, right? Now it's down to 2.5, 3.
I love that. I love that. AI is like, I don't know, like, this will be like a very dense episode for most people. It's like very deep. I kind of want to go back into like the TikTok content creation. Like, obviously you were grinding it out, and how much content you put out? What is your workflow and what is your preparation?
Currently or in the past?
Both.
Well, I wasn't like it's very difficult, and I'm sure so many people that will watch this, that'll see this, and they're kind of in that same space. It's difficult to keep posting when you're getting 200 views, 250 views. Like, it freaking sucks. And I don't have an answer for that, unfortunately. But the intersection of a new and emerging technology and passion is what worked for me. Right, I got that from the book Future Proofing You by Jay Samit. We talked about that. He said, find the intersection of your passion and new and emerging technology, and that's what's going to make you succeed. And it worked out for me, right? And it happens that people are all about AI content, and so I got to ride the wave. The workflow now, I don't have any formal workflow. I'm like the worst content creator ever. Most of my ideas come from my morning walks, and my morning walks may or may not have some garden influence for those that are in the know.
Oh, okay. Let's go into that, because I did not know. And we also met at a men's growth group that you're hosting. There's a lot of more information and segues. But go into the gardening. Yeah,
so gardening in the colloquial TikTok term, right? The jazz cabbage, if you will. I really find that it really does. It really opens my mind in the morning, especially to kind of think about like broader ideas and creativity. And a lot of times I'm listening to podcasts, personal development stuff, AI news, and things like that. And so when I hear something that is kind of new or piques my interest, I'll write it down in a note, or I'll just kind of stop right there on the spot and maybe just like ad lib what I would make a video about, and record it. Come back to my office later on in the morning and just go and shoot the content. Like, I don't plan it. I don't have content days.
I love it.
I need structure, a lot of structure, because I'm very inconsistent. But like, that's my process right now.
No, on the one side, I when I see your phone is like straight, and I was like trying to copy that and everything. You seem very organized. I don't believe that.
So I think that I do have some organization in my life because I need a lot of structure to succeed. But I'm not like compulsive about order and things like that. Gotcha. So it's a pretty healthy balance, I think.
Yeah, I feel like with like business, so that's where I'm basically struggling the most with, is like the organization and sticking with a tool, for example, and now it's like the worst than ever because like there's so many, like there's Notes, Trello, all those tools, and I'm like, which one do I use? I use something for a week, and then I'm like, abandon ship, and then I'm going back to pen and paper. I love that stuff, old school, but not really good. So what is your workflow with that?
Well, I am in a bit of an identity crisis right now between Microsoft and Google. I've been on Google for my entire agency, and all of my documents are there, all of my emails are there, but Google's Gemini inside of the workspace sucked up until very recently. But Copilot was fantastic. So when Copilot kind of came out on the scene in November-ish, late Q4, and then it became more widely available in January of this year. And the coolest thing about Copilot is that it could reach into all of your other Microsoft documents, files, and use that in the chatbot when you called it. And so the example I gave about the RFP, right? If I had that template in a Word doc in my SharePoint or in my OneDrive, I just go to a Word document and say, hey, reference this template, write a new proposal based off of this information. And it's going to give you the whole proposal, right?
Yeah.
That was one of the exercises that we did with the Department of Government Enablement and the UAE is RFP creation. We had the template in a separate Word doc, and it actually went out and created a 3,000 word document in one go based off of that template. That's a big difference, right? When you look at ChatGPT, the max you can usually get is about 800 words or so.
Yeah.
3,000 words, and it was 11 pages long.
But who's reading that?
Well, so, I mean...
besides like the poor guy on the other end. But
it's people have to read it. So they were creating it before AI, so they're still doing it. But yeah, so the going back to the workflow, I'm stuck in between those two right now because I'm still using email and like a lot of single sign-on, like sign-on stuff with Google, but I'm also starting to move the workflow over to Microsoft so I can use the Copilot environment. But now Google has finally caught up with Google Workspace for Business to allow you to reach into those other areas, just like Copilot, to use your data to create new content with.
So we mentioned now Google, we mentioned like all the others, Microsoft, obviously the new update, iOS 18 is coming out for Apple, and they were very quiet about everything. You know, they have their Siri, and everybody's like, I like to use Siri, the most easy, convenient tool. How do you see that playing out? And
I think that if they do it right, so I think a little context here first. Everybody is now moving on to the race for agents, for AI agent actions. AIs that can take action for you given a certain directive without you being in the middle of it, right? And we see that with a lot of third-party applications running on top of GPT that do certain things. You can set up Zapier and Make.com to do certain things, but it all has to be predefined by you, the user. But now with Apple doing this at Siri and Samsung trying to do it with Bixby, the phone manufacturers are trying to merge together, right, and create that agentic experience. And Siri could be the first one that could produce a really quality product because Apple is baking it in at the operating system level on device, and they now have the ability to just weave in and give directive of open this program, make this change, make this edit. So I'm it's almost enough to make me consider wanting to switch to iOS.
So there's now the other aspect of it where it's like convenience. I'm a very convenient guy, and they just rolled out that update. Now I have it on my computer, and I'm like, I'm not anymore going onto ChatGPT, and I'm like, oh, I just have the button there, and whoever gives me that button the easiest.
Yep.
I don't even care really if it's like better as long as it's like
distribution for sure.
I don't even know what to do now, because like, is it worth like switching models, because everybody probably comes out with the like, let's integrate your personal information, what is super scary in the end too. And I'm just like, do I want AI on my phone so it can crawl everything? Do I want AI on my computer? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's important to read the terms of service, right? I think you sent in the group chat about the Adobe terms of service, and they kind of issued this clarification that no, it's not. We're not going to steal it to license it in the
100%
future.
it is. It's like they will do it even if they don't write it in there.
Sure. So I think you made a really good point about which one is better. You don't care if it's better or not. Distribution is king, right?
Yeah.
And the first company that will have a easy to use version of this is likely going to gain the significant market share, right? And Apple is known for their simplicity, and I think that they've stayed out of this a lot longer than people would have considered or thought, because maybe they wanted to have kind of this splashy moment of, here is this new and great tool, and here's how we use it inside of Apple, right?
Yeah.
And it can take actions, and it's something you've never seen before, right? So switching, I will say, to switch to different models outside of the agents and the stuff like that, kind of a separate point to this conversation, but tangent is, you should use different models for different tasks, because ChatGPT may not perform as well on some certain things, like writing, for example, as Anthropic does with Claude. And Google does a little bit better with coding than ChatGPT does. And so they each have their strengths and weaknesses, and like a well-rounded a power user of an AI system will use multiple different tools for multiple different jobs.
So this goes now kind of into like the problem with like, okay, everybody is in a different industry, and I feel like in video there's a lot of AI, and then there's obviously coding, and there's different coding tools and different AI tools. I hear about like Devon AI, but there's like Zapier you mentioned. There's a bunch of like big names that you hear and associated with AI, but I'm not 100% sure which one is which and what are, the key features. Can you name a couple big players and what their general use is?
Would you like to talk about the actual chat models, or kind of just AI technology in general?
Like, break it down for like other people, because like I kind of know what they do and how to use them, but
okay, so to classify this, you can break it down into a few groups. Text generation, that's models like ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, Google's Gemini, Facebook's Meta Llama model, and then there are a lot of open source models as well. Then you get into image generation, so Midjourney, Stability, Stable Diffusion, right? DALL-E, which is what OpenAI uses, and then Leonardo has actually made a lot of strides recently. Some can consider Leonardo's latest release the best image generator. So image generation, then you've got a slight take on that, which is video generation, Pika Labs, Sora. There's another one recently, Luma AI, that is says that it's on par with Sora's video capabilities.
Yeah.
It's okay, in my opinion. And then you have audio models, which can clone basically and create new audio. And then from there, you just have variations, like it's wrappers that use the underlying technology. So some startups can go out and combine the usage of image, video, and text generation, and even audio generation as well, into a single platform to create a tool to do a specific use case. Yeah. And those are the companies and those are the products that are the most fluid and subject to change, because OpenAI could make a change like they did in November with the GPT store and the ability to create custom GPTs, and that just wipes out a lot of these startups, because the original manufacturer of the product just absorbed the use case into the main product, and so your company just evaporated overnight, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of the tools that are really difficult to pick out which are worth your time and which are going to fail in the end.
Yeah. So I see it like a lot on YouTube because it's like a pipeline workflow where it's going from one bot to the next bot, and then it reads like what is in the Google Drive, and then it will be sent there, and you basically build like automation systems for like, let's be content generation, you know. And I'm like, this sounds all great, and people like charge like 5-10K to build this type of pipeline and optimize stuff, and I'm just like, I feel like everything becomes like diluted with like fake AI content.
Yeah.
And the real people, they might be happy right now, but I cannot see that people will still be consuming like social media or chatting if they know it's bots.
Yeah, I have a big problem with like faceless AI channels on TikTok and YouTube as well, mainly because like you're not adding any value.
Yeah.
Some people will get some value, right, if they're trying to learn something about a new topic, and these bots are capable of generating good quality content for somebody that is just trying to get their foot in the door. Yeah. But for the most part, there's no new information coming out, and there's no new critical thinking coming out of this. And so whenever I see these faceless channels and TikToks on how to create these faceless channels, I just get really upset because it's like it's not adding any value whatsoever.
Yeah.
So why are we doing this? That also poses a new problem of like we're running out of AI content. We're running out of content to train new AI models on, and probably a big part of the reason why OpenAI released GPT-4o, the most capable model, better than all their models combined, for free, because it's like trying to suck in all the information from the users that it can to get better training data.
You said a lot of good things, not just a couple, but I was like, dang, I did not really thought about that. But yeah, there is a lack of like, you know, individual content that is unique, because like they are trained already on everything in a way, and it's like there are a couple artists out there where they're like, oh yeah, the AI can never do art, you know, or not my style, and I'm like, yeah, just give it like 2 hours and train it with like all the work that you've done, and it will be there. And it's just like, yeah, this is a very interesting conundrum. Then how do you come up with new ideas, and how will that impact like AI? And
so I think that this, I wanted to finish the thought with that. It goes back to that thing that I talked about with the spectrum, right? So I had a workflow because when I rebranded and when I knew, I said, all right, I have to buckle down with my content creation. And in the morning times when I'm, you know, walking, whatever, and I'm listening to this stuff, I will, like I said, I'll just do a hot take on my recording and just spur of the moment, right? And forget about it by the time I go to my desk. And so what I did was that because I knew that, I was able to build an automation that drops the audio file into a Google Drive, gets transcribed through the GPT Whisper API, and then it goes through a GPT assistant that is trained on my style and like how I approach things and things like that, creates a Facebook post, a Instagram post, LinkedIn post, and a mock newsletter based off of the thing that I said, right? And so that's, I think, one of the better workflows, because you're setting it up and structuring it to where it's not supposed to deliver a full finalized product, but it's supposed to take you 80% down the track, so you can then go, especially with written content, and edit the changes afterwards with, you know, when you get to your desk. So I think that's the best way in the short term, especially as we don't have AGI right now, things that are capable of creating new and unique research. The human in the loop has to be there for sure. Yeah.
No, I love that, because like putting that extra razzle dazzle on it makes you unique, you know, and like one of the things is like whoever's first, you know, then everybody else copies the style, and then some people get salty about it, and it's like right now it's a weird thing because everybody does the same content, and like you said, faceless channels. What are the things that you are experimenting with and you want to do? Because like I was like nagging you with like, hey, you should do the YouTubes, you know, and the more I thought about it, you should also do the live streams. Do you do live?
I've done live streams on TikTok.
Okay.
Not consistently. Basically, I kind of approached it as, oh, well, let me jump on live and just show what I'm doing throughout the day, and let me build some automations here, and, you know, let people watch me and ask questions. And, you know, it was fine. I found that I couldn't really concentrate if I was actually trying to like do something and show people how it works. I can't do that and also answer questions from the comments. So didn't work out very well. But I really think the back half of 2024, I need to kind of really set a structure for my content stuff. Yeah. Because I don't have one right now. What do I want to try? I probably want to do more lives. I don't test a lot. You know, I think there's been some creators on TikTok that I've followed that have noted the shift from the hyper stylized videos and quick cuts and captions, and that was the style for however long, right? What, 2020, 21 to the end of 23? Now we're just saturated. We're so desensitized to that, and almost anytime I see that, especially like with videos that don't have a lot of exposure and creators that don't have a lot of exposure, they're just now catching up to that. Yeah. And it's like the content may be good, but I'm sick of seeing these flashes and jump cuts. Like we don't want that. And the shift now is to face-to-face talking head style, just speaking in front of the camera, which is how I've always created, which is great for me, right? Because I'm like happy to share my thoughts, and I like to think that I have some pretty good ideas. Other people may not agree with me, but just to share the content and the knowledge and let other people hear the message is I'm glad that that's where content is today, at least on TikTok, or it's moving towards that now. Yeah.
I feel like it's really hard to have, like, for social media, a healthy balance, especially if money comes from it. You know, like in your case, you have to generate the TikTok so that you stay in the loop and people see you pop up, and then they're like, I hired this guy, you know. How do you balance, like, your healthy lifestyle?
Well, luckily I've gotten good enough at actually recording my videos, and I still, as I've over the course of the last 6 months is really when I've gotten a lot of steam and traction and have been more consistent about posting. I've gotten a lot better at actually filming and actually physically doing the thing that it takes to film the content. So the editing process is a lot shorter too. So, especially using something like Descript. I know you're not a fan of Descript.
It's all right.
But using that, like, I can, if there's no green screens involved, if it's just me talking in front of the camera, I can cut a video and probably film it and cut it and be ready to post in under 10 minutes. So that's really awesome, right? So getting better at that part is definitely something that I'm working on, that I want to get a lot more efficient at it.
I feel like, because like this is kind of like where I'm usually making my bread and butter, is like the video. And back in the day, it was monopolized. You go to the videographer, he gives you a video and you're like happy. Now it's like you should do everything yourself, unless you want to multiply yourself and take the workload off, or just get more output. But how do you generate now content by yourself, and what are the things that you struggle in generating content? What is the hardest part?
Well, luckily for me, I'm in an industry that has such rapid change and constant updates. So it's my content strategy is a mixture of late breaking news and new tools and just kind of what's happening in the AI world. And then the back half of that, the more substantive side, is the content of practical applications, right? Here's this workflow. Here's how you can build this GPT. Here's how you can think about using ChatGPT in this way. So educational side of things. So, if you're not in that space, how do you come up with content? What is the schedule? Using ChatGPT is a good example, right? You can say, here is a list of my competitors, and here's their top performing videos. How can I do something like that? I've done that before. It's a really cool strategy.
Did it work?
Yeah. So there is a app or a Chrome extension on the web browser that's called a TOK Audit. And essentially, you go to a TikTok profile. I think it's still available. I don't know. I bought a lifetime license, so we'll see. You go to a TikTok profile and you toggle the extension on. It will go and grab all the statistics of the page, the video views, the video likes, comments, shares, the length of the video, the hashtags, and the description, and you can export that as a Excel spreadsheet. And the next step is that you go do that for popular creator pages in your niche. You do 5 or 6 of them, download all the documents, and then go over to ChatGPT and say, here are 5 Excel sheets of the top performing content from these creators in my niche. Summarize the best parts of the video contents, the likes, the shares, all that stuff. Summarize it and give me a content plan that I can put out based off of my business. and it's going to go through and read all that numbers and say, okay, well, based on this video got this many likes because this, right? Here's how you can do it for yours. And using ChatGPT to come up with new ideas is great. But I'm a huge fan of document, don't create from Gary Vee, right? So people want authenticity. And going back to the point you said earlier about, how do we get into creating video away from the hyper stylized quick cuts? You see more and more people, right, just holding the phone in their hand, no screens, no lights, nothing, and just telling a good, compelling story. And that there's no better use case of that than just documenting your day-to-day, right? One of the videos I did was I did a walkthrough for one of my clients on a feature of the software platform I operate, and I showed her what to do, and I wanted to give her written instructions, but I didn't feel like writing it. So I took the 4-minute video, I took it into Google's Gemini, which does video, like it can read video, and I said, here's a training video, give me an SOP for the process in here. And it spit out the full SOP. And what was really cool is that it didn't just listen to what I said, it also grabbed information that was on the screen too. So it read the video frame and paired that with what I was saying in the audio, and it included that in the SOP breakdown.
I love that. I love that. But this scenario, I got $40 or maybe $50, and I'm like, I kind of want to start out with let's using AI and doing it right. How should I invest those $50? Because everything is subscription based and everything costs money, and it's like when you blow the money on a tool that is not good, you kind of get disappointed. What would be your starter kit, and how would you use it?
Well, I would say the starter kit for me is ChatGPT now, because they made GPT-4o, the smartest model, available for free. So anybody can go create a free ChatGPT account and get the best version of an AI chatbot that's ever been created. Yeah. And all they have to do is get better at using it. And so how do they get better at using it? How do you determine what it's worth? If you're going to do kind of this comparison, I think you need to have a clear-cut idea of what are you trying to accomplish. Do I want to save some time when I'm writing my emails every day? Do I want to save some time crunching the numbers on my spreadsheets? Do I want to save some time going through resume applications, right? Pick your use case and then go into the model and do it and see how it comes out. And if you're doing multiple, then replicate that process on the other model and see how that one works and see which one's going to work best for you. If it doesn't do what you're thinking that it should do or you wanted it to do, don't give up on it. Ask your questions in a slightly different way. I tell people all the time to just drop the mindset of that this is a computer and instead think about it as if you were talking to me, a marketing consultant, a business consultant, on the other side of that chatbot. And ask the question, right? There's no dumb questions when it comes to AI because it's not going to get mad at you. Just ask the questions, right? And a big part of how I did this, so I intuitively understood how these things work just from the very beginning, which I'm so shocked to say that. But I was using it to write course content in November, like the day that it came out and I got access to it. I was in the middle. I was just getting started writing a course for mental health professionals and coaches, teaching them how to do digital marketing. And I got ChatGPT and I was like, whoa, no way. And so I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know what you were or weren't supposed to do with it. And so I just said, can you do this? And can you make this? And can you make that? And when it didn't give me the thing that I was looking for, I would say, no, that sucked. You really missed the point. And if it kept doing it, I got mean with it. I was like, you are completely missing the point here. What I'm trying to get you to do is this. Do you not understand that? And sometimes that would work, sometimes it wouldn't. But just the whole process of kind of like brute forcing it to get it to do what I wanted to, that is how I learned how to be so good at this. There is a caveat to that, though. The people that are going to do exceptionally well are the people who are domain authority experts, right? The reason why I was able to create that course so quickly and so well is because I knew what I wanted to write. I just didn't know what words to put in to write the content, right? And writing is not everybody's strong suit. I'm not a good, strong writer, right?
Me neither.
Exactly. So I said, all right, well, I want section 1 to be about this, and I want it to include this, 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 and this, and I want it to say it in this way, this way, and this way, right? So I just instructed it step by step using my knowledge and letting it fill out the words and the sentence structure.
Yeah. I kind of want to go now into that, actually, because like people are using it for emails, and obviously writing stuff. And I feel like everybody has a style of communicating, Some are more raw, some are more like, grammar Nazi and whatever. and being like very structured. So it's like one of those things like, how do you put a personal spin on it? Because like I think you can train them with your stuff, but what is the workflow?
Yeah,
right now?
so that is one of the probably the biggest complaints that I think people have about large language models is that it sounds AI. It reads AI written, and if you don't do any tweaking to it, it will. I have a workflow that you basically have a prompt basically saying you've got, these are some examples of content that I've written. Please analyze it for tone, grammar, punctuality, clarity, all these different things, and generate a description of the tone of voice. And then after that, generate what I called a universal key. And I got the idea, and I don't know if this is my idea or not, but I got the idea from actors do the same thing when they're doing a accent, right? Yeah. They have this set of phrases that they repeat to get them into the accent. And it's supposed to like hit all the consonants and vowels or whatever. And so they say that phrase a few times and it gets them in that mode. And so after the GPT generates the description of the tone of voice, it has an example paragraph of the universal key that exemplifies what that tone looks like. Yeah. And so you take that and you say, create my case study for this, or create my research paper for this. Here is the tone of voice you should write it in, right at the end.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, so that is like probably the best case, because like I see it like in video games, it's popping up now where it's becoming NPCs having AI, and there were like cases where they're like now they're like speaking in a tone of voice, and it's like, oh, this will make video games really cool.
That is a really cool use case. I love that actually.
Yeah, but now it's like getting like really twisted. It's like, are we in a simulation?
Yeah,
you know, and I'm just like,
yeah, I don't know. I don't think we are, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah. Actually, we're running ChatGPT 7.
Yeah, GPT 10, 12. Yeah. So, well, I mean, who knows, right? The Sora stuff is like unbelievable. And I get a little, I don't get frustrated. It's maybe not the right word, but like, I wish people would step back and.
What do you mean with that?
When the content that Sora and Luma and Google's Leo, I don't think it's Leo, I forget the name of it, but the video generator, ultra realistic footage, like some of it you can't even tell if it's real or not. It's really difficult,
scary.
But still some people will be like, that's crap, like you can see this has clearly got an extra finger or whatever it's going to be.
They would not know.
But when you zoom out, right, there's a good example of like 2022, I think, the video generations from Stable Diffusion, I'm maybe getting the companies wrong, but they did a video of Will Smith like eating a hot dog or peanut butter and jelly.
Spaghetti.
Yeah, it was spaghetti, right? And it was just this abomination of a character of a cartoon, right? And then a year later, they did the same prompt, and it was almost like looking at Will Smith, right? And that's just a year. And so when we look at the progress that these things are making in such short time period, now, like that goes back to the point that I talked about with Dario Amodei and the takeoff. Like we're getting to that exponential curve that we're not going to be able to keep up. Yeah. And getting to the point where the AIs that we're building are able to help accelerate the new versions. And it's going to be like a compounding effect on that. And so look at the difference between, again, just zoom out, right? 5 years ago. What was 5 years ago? 2019?
I know, and that's why I'm like, I think like those estimations, 2027 or whatever. I'm like, what? Yeah. It's like probably next year. And I'm like, well, yeah, how do you see actually, like, let's say, because like let's go a little bit into the dark, but not too much, but what are like your plans with like career? Let's say everything falls away because like, oh yeah, there's an AI model, act like Marcus. Yep. And now it does what you would do. Yeah. What would you do then in that type of scenario when you don't have to make money, or you know, what is like, how do you fill your time?
Well, I choose to look on the positive side of AI, and like what really filled me with wonder last year, kind of when I had free time to explore. I really did spend a lot of time exploring this stuff last year to really kind of get into the space and kind of fully pivot into it. And one of the moments that I had was I read a lot of Marvel comics. I'm a huge comic nerd, and I think that I got I'm not sure exactly what the workflow was, but I had the idea that I wanted to create a comic. I wanted to create my own Marvel comics. I went to ChatGPT and I helped it. I went to help me write my storyline for this. Help me develop my characters. Help me develop their powers. All this other stuff. And then I wrote the storyline for the comic. And then I went to Midjourney to start generating the image. And I was like, holy shit, I can't draw, but I can make a comic book out of this. And like I would have never been able to do that. And so unlocking the tools to creativity by just speaking, now that you can speak to it, you can, people who have always wanted to create screenplays. Eric from last night, Eric Olson, he wanted to create a screenplay, or he's a screenwriter. And he booked me for a consult last year, and he was like, well, I kind of want to do this. And I showed him how he could do it, and we put his script in there, and I was like, all right, Eric, what do you want to do? Well, I was thinking about the next scene to be this and include that, and I put it in there, and he was like, holy shit, this is really good. Right? So it's unlocking the creativity and freeing brain space up. So what do you do to fill your time? Hopefully creativity. Hopefully create something. Outside of that, I don't know, right? That's why I think it's very important that we have a lot of conversations in the next few years about universal basic income, which is OpenAI is funding the largest UBI study that's been done.
Super important, I think, right now.
They know how much of an impact this is going to have, and it's really tough. It's really tough when we think about the longer term time horizon, 15 years. Like our world is most likely going to be radically different, and we can't. I can't even comprehend that right now.
Same here. I'm just like I'm instead of 15, I'm like, oh yeah. 5 years, it's like completely changing everything. And my strategy was like, okay, build communities or build a brand, and if you have a lot of people in your circle, you will be probably fine, And I'm like, dang, you pulling that move, you have the men's group, you're building the community, now you have the brand. And I'm feeling like now personal brand is more important than ever, because like, let's say all the jobs fall away and like you need help,
right? I mean, no, for sure. Personal brand is definitely important, whether it's AI or not, because we're seeing a shift in social media. This is kind of outside of the AI conversation, but we're seeing a shift in social media to where we don't care about brand accounts anymore. Nobody cares about, unless it's Duolingo,
companies,
right? Nobody, unless it's like Duolingo or one of the funny TikTok accounts, right?
Yeah, gotta be good.
Nobody's care. Like, we're not tuning in to a corporate account. We're tuning in to the founder of the company. We're tuning in to the marketing, the person who handles the marketing, but we're doing it on their personal page, right? And that personal brand is ever more important, because like that now gives you the leverage and the capability to market yourselves to other businesses. And if you have a job already, and maybe your personal brand isn't associated with that, this gives you the channel to create extra income sources for yourself, right? And that to go back to the AI point with this, doing that will allow you to create solutions that you may not have thought of before. I talk a lot about people who want to break free of the corporate 9-to-5 and they want to work for themselves, they want to be an entrepreneur. We have this tool set now that we don't know the full capabilities of, because we're just scratching the surface of how all of our different individual brains perceive this tool and how it can be used to create a solution. Like we're uncovering all of that, right? And so now we have this tool that anybody from 5 to 95 can go in, talk to it, type it out, and say, I want to do this and create this. And the model will just go and create it, right? And then if they're smart enough, they can just keep that going. And eventually, maybe there's a product that's born out of that. And that person is able to capitalize on it.
Where did you park?
Right in front, right behind you.
Right behind me, then everything should be good. I just hear like the beep, and I'm just like, wait a second, did you park?
I don't think it's mine. I don't think it's mine.
Yeah, sorry for that. But yeah, I just got like a really, really bad like nightmare scenario, because like, okay, we can do whatever we want. You can make your Marvel comics, whatever, and it's like, this is now your full-time job. But if you just get it, it's not fun, you know, so you have to work for it. So AI will be used then in a way to recreate the Matrix, where it's like you live in a simulation and you go through pain and suffering to accomplish your life goals, and that is like what satisfies you in a way. And this is like kind of like, damn, this is going dark again. And I'm just like,
it's tough. It's tough, right? I don't know. It's such a slippery slope, especially when we talk about corporations, because in the U.S. especially, right, we're capitalism's end stage capitalism, right?
Yeah.
And so many CEOs and executive suites are looking at this technology to say, all right, how can we trim up the bottom line? How can we improve profits? And I do not enjoy corporate America. I share that feeling with so many people on social. And anytime that I work with an organization that's in that kind of position, like, I'm a fierce advocate of, like, I'm not trying to help you replace people. I'm helping you give people time back in their day so they can do things that they enjoy about their job, or that they can do things that matter, not so that you can get 30% more productivity out of them and still work them for a full 8 hours.
Yeah. I mean, like, that is the whole other downside. That is, like, kind of dark, the transition time of the whole AI stuff. Damn.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, I'm just like trying to, how do I segue out of this dark bottom pit?
This is the most high level, like, big picture pie in the sky conversation I've actually had about this.
Yeah.
I don't see myself as somebody that can make a huge difference in the direction and trajectory of this. I view myself as somebody that gets it, that my whole mission is to help people do more with less effort, right? And I am fortunate enough to have made a good amount of money throughout my career with my own agency, and now even more with the AI stuff. And so I want people to just, if they have an idea, if they want to take a flyer on an AI venture or do something outside of their corporate job, like, this is the time, this is to do it. Learn some skills on how to make that easier for you, and see if you can make a better life for yourself.
I love that, because, like, on the one side, it's like, yeah, obviously it's doom and gloom, but if you use the tool right, you can achieve all your goals that you want. And I feel like whoever can dream the biggest, captures it all. Where if you have a small goal and a small dream, and you use your tools and you achieve that, somebody else will capture your bigger vision, kind of like Jeff Bezos style. But I'm like, what are the things, how do you determine what you want to do big picture? Like, what's your big picture? Like, going into, like, your why, or you're just doing it because it works?
Well, the why, I just explained the why, right? I believe that this is a transformational opportunity. Like, this is firmly the gold rush. This is the .com era. This is, like, the turning point for the iPhone in 2007, where it's still very early on in the adoption curve for this, and so the opportunity is still very ripe. 2023 was the year of the consumer adoption of AI. We saw a lot of consumer stuff and really just the general public getting involved with it. 2024, we're seeing a lot of business adoptions. We're seeing a lot more corporations adopt this and really rapidly putting it into their workflows. So big picture is I want, like, for me, I want to help people be able to go and start their own thing, right? Learn a skill, learn a trade, if it's an actual trade, learn an internet trade, learn how to create a process that solves a problem for someone, that is repeatable, that's proven, that you can go to somebody and say, I can put this in your business, and I can promise you that it will save you time every day, it will make you money, or it will improve the customer satisfaction that you have with your business.
So let's talk a little bit about that time frame, because, like, you mentioned it, and I'm like, it makes perfectly sense. And when we were at Nova, like, shout out to Nova, but there's more and more people who are like, hey, I'm an AI guy, and they're popping up. You were the second guy there the other time. I'm like, oh, there's another guy doing AI. I'm just like, how do you see that trend, and where are we now on that curve? Because, like, early adapters, middle,
still early, way early.
So you think, I feel like it's, like, already, like, kind of over, but okay.
It's biased because your world is influenced by that. Right? So somebody that's not into AI or just has barely touched it, maybe they've used it a couple times, they're not really keyed in on it, that person's world, nobody's talking about AI. But you follow TikTok, you follow me, right? You're attracting that content to you, so it's fair that you would say that you think it's already oversaturated. But again, it's still very early on in the adoption curve. Like, I think that we're now kind of getting up there. Some of the numbers I heard recently on the Marketing Intelligence show, which is one of my favorite podcasts for AI, they quoted a stat around 7% of U.S. adults have used ChatGPT now.
Okay.
So the numbers are creeping up, but still, that's a very small number.
This reminds me of Bitcoin when I was like a server like several years ago, and Bitcoin was at like $800, and I'm like, okay, the server's heard about it, so it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
I shouldn't buy it.
Yep.
He's just like working 2 extra shifts to buy Bitcoin,
Yep.
and he got rug pulled and whatever at $800, and I'm just like, yeah, I thought it's over, but this is maybe again like one of those moments, when you try to time something and. Yeah.
Well, so I think on top of that, like if you consider the rug pull aspect of AI, the equivalent for that could be one of these lawsuits or one of the many lawsuits that OpenAI has faced, or Google or whatever else, right, from the New York Times and the newspapers, that they use their content illegally to train the models. And if they have to remove that from the model, it could cause a pretty significant amount of damage to how the model performs, and it could set things back, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't really think it's going to happen, because it's kind of one of those too big to fail type of situations. But if AI does go away altogether in the next 3 years, which it won't, because the open source community is already they're 6 months behind, essentially. If the cat's out of the bottle now. If it does go away, the people that are building, they're trying to get into this now, they're kind of grinding. AI is not in its own bubble. You have to have programs, tools, automations, things like that. And by doing and building stuff inside of those infrastructures, you learn a new skill. You learn how to do business automation. Those things aren't going away. You learn how to do key aspects of a business, operations, things like that. So you're learning new skills as you're working to implement your AI solution and focus, thinking that it's an AI stuff, but you're also getting those other supplementary skills too.
So this brings me kind of back, I think 5 months or so, where I was on a podcast, Elevated Astronauts, and we talked about AI, and it was like, hey, we should invest in NVIDIA, because everything runs on those chips, and I'm just like, I didn't have the money at the time because I was that broke, and I'm just like now biting my ass, and I'm just yapping about it.
53% up over the year, and so I even had. So again, I've got some funds now that are able to be spent for investments and things like that. And I was, I want to buy some NVIDIA stock. Yeah. And it's like $1,200, $1,300 a share.
And I was like, this will be free K because they're the only supplier.
I just put it in the AI ETFs, the infrastructure underneath it, right? So chip manufacturers, semiconductors, like power centers, data centers, things like that, and kind of minimize the risk by going with the ETF because it's a collection of them. So not financial advice, right? But look at the trajectory. Here's a really, really mind-blowing point. So there is an ex-OpenAI researcher named Leopold Aschenbrenner. I probably butchered that last name. He wrote a paper in the last few weeks that talked about where AI is headed in the next 5 years, artificial general intelligence, and then also these supercomputing clusters that are being built and the level of investment needed to train these bigger and bigger models. And the numbers that got up to that were $1 trillion to train some of these new and late models in 2030. And so now if you look at some of these projections and the scaling laws that are in place for AI, the more data you give it, the more compute power you get it, the more smart and intelligent the model can be. Those have held true the more we've thrown at it. So we're just going to keep throwing that stuff at it and see where the breaking point is. But more chips, more NVIDIA, more semiconductors, right? All that stuff is going to be needed more and more and more. So it makes sense to kind of connect the dots as AI becomes more mainstream and integrated into our daily lives. The infrastructure supporting that, the value is going to go up.
Yeah. So with that in mind, what are the companies that you think are most likely to stick around? Because I think Gary Vee said it too. The industry, whenever there's a bubble, will be collapsed to 98%, and then the top one will survive, and they are now the Amazon or the Walmart or whatever. And I'm just like, who will that be in your eyes?
I don't know if we know who the players are on that right now, right? Because if we talk about the historical performance of bubbles, right? Yeah. The technology was new and the companies were new. Yeah. And now the technology is new, the companies are established. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, So those, I feel confident they're not going to go away, right?
Yeah.
Your startups, Perplexity is a good example. Perplexity got, I think... No.
I don't know where they're coming from, too. Like, it's like one of those things, like there's startups popping out of nowhere, and it's just like, where do you get the money from?
Oh, well,
like,
VCs are throwing money left and right at anything that's got the word AI in it right now.
Yeah.
And so that's a dangerous slippery slope. So if we talk about bubbles, there's going to be a lot of bubbles that will pop for startups, right? I talked about it earlier with OpenAI releasing that update to the GPT store that wiped out so many wrappers of the OpenAI API that had a specialized purpose. So though I think the big tech companies that we know now, those will continue to exist, right? I think the best use cases, the best tools that are providing use cases are either going to stand or they'll get absorbed. I have no idea who's going to make it outside of that.
So you don't making any bets,
No,
I see.
I'm not making any bets. And I would never, like, maybe if I had $5,000 or $10,000 to just that I could just light on fire, I would, make a gamble. And not a lot of these companies are not IPO, right? They're not public, right? So you can't go and buy a stock for this hot AI stock.
You hope they maybe have a website where you can throw some money and then something comes out.
Yeah, so it's not really like that because it's still so new, right?
Yeah.
I think that probably. How long do bubbles last? What's the technical?
I don't know. Like we can pull it up. Let me know when your screen is safe.
Let's see. I'm connected to the internet. Yeah.
Oh, it's not working. We're not plugged in apparently anymore. The good old days are over. Either way, so I have like so many thoughts on. Let's say there's one company sticking around and the winner of the bubble, or maybe two, whatever. Let it be Apple or let it be Google, and that sounds like a nightmare because like on the one side you want to have your own personal assistant, that you control in a way. So I'm like tinkering more with the idea of like, should I have my own language model on the computer? Because there's like YouTube tutorials where you can download them from GitHub. You can do anything and everything with that, and they don't have guardrails. And on the one side, that's very scary that anybody could do this, but everybody's too lazy. But should I do this, or should I trust the big corporations with like giving me like a model that maybe limits me with like what I will achieve in my life, because like too much success is not good, but if you're a good consumer, it's great.
Well, I think that inherently it kind of can't do that because of the open source community.
Yeah.
So right now, the open source community has got models that are capable of generating almost GPT-4 level output. Yeah. And like you said, you can download it on your computer. You can run it on your server, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of eliminates the big corporation aspect of it, limiting gatekeeping the access in the language model, for lack of a better word, right?
Yeah.
Not teaching you the things that you need to know, the critical things that you need, because they want you to come to them for that. I think that problem is solved because the open source community is already there. And I mean, I do like the ability, I like the use case, right? Yeah. This is such a tremendously helpful tool, and if you are data private and concerned about your privacy and you still want to take advantage of that, get a local model that runs on your machine that can help you do knowledge management, that can help you kind of like do the things that you're looking for. I saw a TikTok, this guy had loaded a open source model. I can't remember how many specific billion parameters it had, but he put it on a Raspberry Pi, and he put it in his prep box for a doomsday prep box. It taught him how to grow seeds, all the stuff, the essential survival skills that you would need. It's on this like baked in laptop running on Raspberry Pi, and it's his doomsday box, right? I love that, right? Because this is just basic information that we can trust. If you give it a good data source, that the model is capable of giving you good answers out of it, that's a great application of it.
Nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
Doomsday is coming. World War III.
Break out ChatGPT.
Everything starts from, restart, and we basically survived AI, and then there's that damn prepper with that lunchbox AI restarting it. And it's just like, well, that was our chance.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so the dot-com bubble lasted several years.
Several years.
The Japanese asset price bubble lasted approximately a decade. So, again, we're almost 2 years, and it'll be 2 years in November, into this craze. So I still think as far as company formation is concerned, I feel like we're just getting to the point where we're seeing some of these companies really start to debut their things, right? And if you look at the life cycle, all the tools that are coming out, especially the video generations and things like that, they're open to the public for free.
Yeah.
The one I mentioned earlier, Luma, that's a competitor to Sora, you can get access to it for free.
Yeah.
And
Wait a minute, free? Really?
Free.
So this is like the whole nother aspect of it, because like Sora, for example, we saw all the videos and it's like, whoa, stunning. I can't do anything with it. Nobody really can, because they just release certain clips. Not everybody's allowed to it. So the public has basically the problem of like, yeah, those models are there and they're either free and bad, but where are the good models? How do you get access to them? And it's just like, it's really annoying in a way, because like you mentioned, like, oh, Premiere Pro came out with Firefly or whatever it was. I still haven't seen it on my computer, you know, and it's just like
dragging their feet on that. God, I wish they would hurry up and release it, but it's not needed now, because the whole point behind Firefly was like, it was last year in the spring, and they were like, Firefly will be able to automatically insert relevant B-roll to your timeline, and you don't need an editor anymore. And I was like, perfect. I don't need to hire an editor. It's going to do those auto jump cuts and put the B-roll in. Perfect. Still, no crickets out of Firefly for that. Nothing. It's a year later.
Yeah, so there's a ton of letdowns, and I'm just like super annoying. But yeah, so sorry, my ADHD is really strong. So we're jumping back to the bubbles and everything, and talking about bubbles, Bitcoin. You know, everybody's like, oh, Bitcoin scam, whatever, or it's good, and you know, proponents or for it, whatever. I feel like right now this is like an era where, if the right blockchain is combined with the right technology, so that you can verify something is real versus fake. And, you know, like, let it be credit card applications, you know. I don't know why that is still, like, PDFs and JPEGs and whatever versus, like, connected to the blockchain, verify, this is my signature versus XYZ. And I'm like, when that gets implemented, crypto, whatever type or chain it will be, will have a big surge. But are there, like, stuff like that on your radar where you're like, okay, we need like something to verify, we need something to...
Well, not on my radar, but it is on the radar for the AI company. So OpenAI is working on watermark detection for the various different models, and I think a lot of the AI safety communities, independent research labs, are doing the same thing, because again, like, this propaganda creation, misinformation, disinformation, it's easier than ever, right? And so
I
now,
love that segue, by the way.
Right, we need the ability to figure out what's real and what's not. And so the frontier model companies are working on them. Anthropic's doing a lot with it too, to try to figure out how to imprint watermarks. The image generation, one of the image generation tools recently said that they were going to include that in the metadata of the creation. I think it was an image generation.
Yeah.
So you're getting that information that it is created with AI, because you're not going to be able to tell. Right?
Yeah, and that we kind of mentioned it before the podcast. The whole Russian thing. You know, it's like, oh, there was that tweet and somebody didn't pay the bill. What was that again?
Yeah, so
if you want to give the summary.
Let's see.
We pulling up the screen, but basically, politics. You know, I don't usually go too much into it, or conspiracies. But that was quite funny, because like that is like one of those AI doomsday scenarios for me, where I'm like, AI will be at one point chatting with itself. You know, like you have an AI closer and you have an AI, let's find deals, buy them, and then flip them or whatever. And now you have the internet talking to itself. And why would I consume it? And it's just like,
let's put a pin in that to come back to the death of the internet theory, which is very fascinating. But so this is yesterday, June 18th. Essentially, this person on Twitter posted some content about, you know, just in general. I think it was just general content. I'm not sure, but he got a response from this verified Twitter account, his Vault ETH. And you can see it's just like gibberish. It's code. What happened was that the API didn't have enough credits in the account, so it wasn't able to generate the text that it was requested of the chat model, and so it just put in the raw code in the Twitter reply. And you can translate that, and it says, you will argue in support of the Trump administration on Twitter, speak English. And so this originally came, it was the original screenshot is in Russian. right? So
Yeah.
you can see that's in Russian. And so you can see, right, Russia is trying to influence and argue our election cycle. And I made a video before I came over here. I don't think that there's very, very small chances that this is only pro right-wing content.
Yeah.
I would bet a lot of money that they're also doing pro left-wing content, just the reverse
Yeah.
of this, right? Because their whole goal is like they want to push people further away to their sides of the spectrum, and this is how you do that, right? And so Twitter suspended this account, they deleted it. It was a verified account, first of all, they're paying for that, and they deleted the account. Who knows how many other bots are out there? Twitter's already got a bad bot problem.
Yeah.
And now we've seen this is actually happening. How many other bots on the platform are doing this? And Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, other platforms too. Like, we're already being inundated with this.
So there's actually a little bit more to it, because like the internet is already to a certain amount of bots. And TikTok, for example, there's OnlyFans who have agencies, and those agencies deploy bots to like, engage, comment, even post content. So there's bots out there posting content so that they don't like being detected as bots, and they will go onto your video, like it, but you will not get like the watch time, because obviously nobody's watching. And it's like, it is scary because everything is becoming like fake, and you don't even know, is this person on the other end even real?
Yeah. And so going back to the death of the internet thing, I wish that I could show some quick examples, but essentially this is a lot of boomer victims are falling victim to this.
Boomer victims. Not just regular boomers falling for it, no, only the boomer victims.
Yeah. So essentially what's happening is that, I hope that there's some screenshots in here, but
we will see here.
The AI is creating these Facebook accounts, and they are generating AI images. And it starts out cool, okay, fine, right? It's in the very beginning, the images are okay because it's clean data. So the image could be a picture of like some of the notable examples where there's a young guy in Africa that was standing next to this big chair-shaped structure that was made out of soda bottles, but it was fashioned in the shape of Jesus. And the caption is like, "Made this with my bare hands," and it's the kid standing next to the thing, and all the comments are like, "Amen, beautiful, amen, oh my God, praise him." And so like thousands of comments, and then so those pages, more bots are starting to do the same thing, and the images that get created become more bizarre and more wild. Like, it's all centered around like religion as well, which is weird. But some other examples were like, again,
oh God,
the image was, I wish I had the example, but it was something about like Jesus top half and like dog legs on the bottom, or dolphin legs on the bottom. It was really weird. And so the image is trying to get data back from the previous posts that were generated about what did well and create a new image with that, but it's not smart enough, and it's just kind of blending them together, and all the comments are the same. Amen,
whatever.
Like, yeah, it's weird, it's wild.
My head just hurts, because there's like, this will also give like birth to a new internet, the internet of the bots. There could be already out there, and we are not seeing it because it's not in our algorithm. And there's somewhere like some bot internet going on, where it's like, oh yeah, we're liking this image, oh, check out this creator, and all the bots are going crazy over it, and there's like a subculture in a way. And I'm just like, this is the future is wild.
And so it kind of goes back to the point about training new AI models, right? If the Meta and OpenAI are using synthetic data, which is AI generated data, to train future models, and so where's the cutoff point? Like, we always have to have humans in the loop, right, to give us that good content that's actually accurate and not rely on AI. So,
but for how long? Because the other thing is, like, as we just said, like the sub internet with bad bots liking bad stuff. Sooner or later, we are the bottleneck, because like, we're not the smartest, because like there's a bunch of old people out there. It's just like, oh, this chick is cute, whatever, and you could tell from just looking at it, this is AI, and it's just like, we are very limited, and I'm just like, this is crazy.
The death of the internet is a fascinating topic. So Google it if you, or do it on TikTok.
Do it on TikTok. Okay. Oh, sorry, my head is like starting to hurt from like possibilities.
Yeah, like that's one of the cool things if you take out the existential crisis part of it.
Yeah. I mean, like this is all relative, you know. But I'm like, geez.
Yeah.
But what is? Let's jump back into the positivity. So, you're building a community, you know, and I should give context. So you have a men's group, you know, and I kind of stumbled in it, and I'm like, "What's going on here?" There's a AA going on.
You were recording a podcast at Best Day.
Yeah, so I basically was at Best Day, and I'm like filming a podcast. And I'm like, "Yeah, this was cool and all." And then there's a bunch of men hanging out, and I'm just like, just AA vibes, you know, and just like, "What's going on here?" And I guess I'm hanging out, and just like, "Oh, this is actually cool."
Yeah.
Can you explain why did you do it? What and all the above.
So I I don't know, it's not a long story, but there's a lot to it. So I got a divorce I separated from my ex-wife in October 2022, and after a 7-year relationship, and it was difficult for me, and I knew that I was going to need a support group because I'm originally from Louisiana, and I don't have any family here. It's just me, essentially. And so I knew that I needed a support group, and coupling that with the fact that I have always wanted to excel in my career. I wanted to be self-sufficient, a self-made man, right? Whatever it's going to be. So I have high aspirations for myself, and your network is your net worth, right? So it was a combination of me looking for a group of men that could help me, like, just listen to what I was going through, and also to be surrounded by people who were doing better in life, that were doing better in their business or further along in their business career. And so I just wanted to put the group together, right? And provide a space for guys that were struggling with something, whether it be their relationship or maybe they're in a good relationship, but sometimes their wife or partner doesn't listen to them, or they can't always speak their mind because they're afraid of putting stress on their partner. And so I created this space to say, hey, look, come and talk with me. Come and talk with other people who say the same thing and who share the same thoughts, and let's grow together. It's called the Growth Collective. So let's grow together and become better people together. And that's just kind of where it started. And I never really wanted it to be this huge, big group with thousands of members in it, right? That would be cool if it did, but I think it loses a lot of impact there. So
100%.
10 to 15 people, like, that are forming a consistent bond every week, and we get some new folks come in, they hang out for a few weeks, and then they leave, and they get what they need, and they leave. Some people have been coming every week, like Andy's been coming every week almost, I think, since we started it, and Chris too, Victor as well. So
we gotta give a shout out to Chris, because like he's like kind of hosting the whole thing.
Shouts out to Christopher Tolosano, Best Day Fitness, best place you can go to rent space for your fitness and wellness business. So he's got a cool business model. It's like salon lofts for the fitness and wellness space. He's got a big open space that's got dividers in there, and if you're a chiropractor, massage therapist, personal trainer, whatever else, you come in, you rent by the hour, rent by hour blocks, and you don't have to deal with overhead. You don't have to deal with licensing and insurance and things like that. It's all, he's covered all of that. You come in, do your thing with your client, and pack up and leave.
Oh, that's a very nice deal, I would say. But you also said like a group of thousands of people, and I was like, oh, what a nice segue asking you why you want to speak in front of a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But I didn't make the cut.
Yeah, that's all right. So it really goes back to the mission of do more with less effort, right? So I was really fortunate that from TikTok, someone reached out to me to come and speak at the AI Expo in Austin earlier this year, and they had about 2,600 people at the actual event, but it was spread out throughout the day. So the crowd actually watching the stage wasn't quite as big, but it goes back to me just spreading the message, right? The more that I can go and tell people, hey, you can create almost anything that you want with this, right? You can, if you can think it and you can put words to it, there is a chance that you could turn that into something really awesome with this tool just because of how it works, right? And if you just know how to use these things, maybe it doesn't materialize into what you wanted, but maybe kind of like shoot for the stars or shoot for the moon, land in the stars, whatever the saying is. Maybe it doesn't do it, but maybe it gets you to the point where you're like, oh, well, I could make this work. I could sell this to somebody. I could make some extra money off of this and like live a better life. I like have fully lived the entrepreneur's journey for sure. I mentioned I had a donut shop, a franchise donut shop.
What? No, you did not.
So I said I think I owned a franchise. I said it earlier, right?
A franchise of some type.
Yeah.
No.
So I had a franchise donut shop in 2016. It was just built, and I had prospected the owners that that had built it to do some advertising with me, and I got to be good friends with them, and they were looking for a third owner, a third partner, and so I was able to buy in for a really low amount and be a part of this franchise and like be a business owner. And
that's cool as hell.
Yeah. So
did you make an exit?
I don't recommend donut shops. You gotta sell a lot of donuts to make some money. But no, so we came in and made some strategic decisions the first couple of years, and grew the revenue from like $500,000, just over like 535. I grew it to 674, and then we expanded to add a food truck, and the food truck made just over $100,000. And then in 2018, so the switch from 17 to 18, like a light switch overnight, some things opened up around that were under construction that really kind of sucked all the energy out of our part of town. And so really hard to get to. We didn't do a ton of marketing. We didn't have enough money to do marketing. And so it was just kind of a combination of circumstances, and it just didn't work out well. And this was supposed to be a franchise, and the folks were working on getting more franchises, but like throughout that time, we were only the second location. And so the name recognition wasn't getting as much as it could have. And so just a perfect storm of things.
I'm getting hungry now for donuts, man.
And so I was able to get out. I was just able to hand it back over to the original owners and walk away. So yeah, I don't recommend that. But in the process of that, like I lost like probably $50,000 in 2019, like getting out of that deal. Damn. So it's.
But did you make some money?
No. I lost money. I lost my ass.
Yeah, well, but there's like the lessons that you learned. Yeah, and I think like that is probably way more worth. And now you can say you were a donut shop owner.
Yeah. And people always like same reaction when I tell people I own a donut shop. It's a little bit of a weird memory now, but yeah, it taught me a lot about business. It taught me a lot about I don't want to say work ethic, but like just how to grit my teeth and bear it. Right, to just. Good, like wake up at 6 in the morning to go do cars and coffee in the donut truck after being in the donut truck the night before at the college bars until 2 a.m. like doing the turnaround on that, like that sucks, right? But I had to do it, right? We had bills to pay. I had obligations to my employees. I had to pay my employees. So I got out of the bed. And that taught me a lot about perseverance. And like, if I can survive that, like I can survive a lot. Right?
Yeah.
And so you're going to fail as an entrepreneur. The first thing that you do is not going to knock it out of the park. If you do, can you write a book and teach me? So yeah, it's the thing. But the thing now, going back to the point, is like, I don't want people to struggle. I struggled. I'm just getting out of the struggle mode. I'm just getting out of the scarcity mindset, and I've been very fortunate to be in this spot. But there's still so many people that are in there, and they want more. They want to do something more. And my mission with these stages, these speaking events, is like, let me teach you just a few basic skills, and I think that you can go and create something that could, maybe it's $500 a month. Yeah, that helps a lot of people out.
I mean, like the whole scarcity mindset, I think like that should be explained a little bit more, because like some people they don't know they have it, and it's like we all live our lives, and if you don't do like a self-assessment or you don't meet your benchmarks, you never try to, like, you set the goal a little bit higher, you will not realize it, So what does that even mean for you?
So scarcity mindset is, like, we all have our viewpoint on the world, right? And those viewpoints have been shaped and molded from the way that we were brought up. From our parents, from our grandparents, from our loved ones and friends. Like, they all have influenced our worldview. And a lot of times people don't know that unless they do a lot of inner work to understand that. And scarcity mindset, especially prevalent in blue-collar communities and like areas that aren't as affluent, is the mindset of just, I don't know if I'm going to make enough, or I don't know if I'll have enough to retire. I don't know if I'll be able to cover the rent this month, or
don't remind me.
I got this deal out, right? And so I pitched them $5,000. Maybe I should have charged them $1,500 just so I could get the money, right? Yeah. And so you're devaluing yourself just because you think like you can get, like that will help you, right? And so when you're doing that, you're not thinking about all the things that goes into it and the time that it takes to make it worth that price. And if you're not charging that price, you're wasting time and energy and you're undercutting yourself. And if you're constantly stuck in scarcity mindset, you're focused on the lack of money. And this goes back to like the law of attraction, which is like a fantastic book message. I wanted to say message there. It's a fantastic message. You're focused on the lack of the money. You're focused on the lack of funds. And that's what your brain is going to do. It's going to subconsciously self-sabotage and do things to keep you focused on that and in that space. But if you can do the work to zoom out and say, I have enough, I will have enough, I will make things happen, you're rewriting your subconscious code to do certain actions to put you in a position to succeed in the future. And I'm not going to go the woo-woo route of just say it and believe it, speak it into existence.
I mean, like it kind of
is, but
if you actually speak it,
right. The most important thing behind that is that you can say it, you can manifest it all you want, but unless you actually visualize, I need to do this, I need to do this, I'll have to do this, this, and this. Unless you've got that in place after you said it, it's just like pissing in the wind.
Yeah.
So, like, speak it, put it with intentional thought. Put an idea and plan together of how you think that you can get there and go and do the things. And it may not work out, but you can come back. You can reassess. All right, well, we're 6 months into this. We're not quite where we wanted to be, but we're making progress, right?
Yeah.
Let's look back. What worked? What didn't work? Right? Okay, all right. Now, so this worked. Speak it into existence. Like I'm such a huge fan of the speak it into existence thing. Like I set goals for the first time, like hard concrete goals this year. I wanted to speak at 12 events. I wanted one of them to be larger than 250 people. I wanted to have 20K in personal savings. I wanted to put myself in a position to get in a new car by the end of the year, and like do a single deal over $15,000. And like 4 out of those 5 are already done. We're not even halfway
Love
through.
it.
Right? So, like, I spoke...
What's missing? The car?
I haven't done 12 events yet. And the car, obviously.
Oh, okay, got it.
So, like, I spoke those things. I visualized it. Like, there is a... in my last apartment, there's a Catholic school that has a big field that they let their kids play in, and there's a berm, and it's kind of like standing on a stage over there. So I would go walk my dog every morning and listen to this stuff, and then I would think about, oh man, I want to speak in front of these big stages, and I would stand on top of that thing, and I would look pretend it was an audience, and like it came to pass. I spoke on that stage, and so speak it into existence with intention, have a plan, come back and reassess, see where things are, and just make some stuff happen.
Yeah, I love that, and I'm a big believer in that too. And I don't even say you have to say you're a believer in a way, because like if you talk to somebody else, this is speaking it into existence. And if they know that I want it and they have access to it and they don't mind me just mentioning, will give it to me in a way if they have it and don't care, But yeah. Mindset is like a big one, because like I think like I struggle with that too, because like I don't know how you grew up, but I grew up very poor, and just like, okay, want to come to America, be self-employed, make myself, my own business, and see how far I can go, And there's a lot of limitations.
For sure.
that you don't know that you have till you realize, oh.
And so I mean, I wouldn't say poor is the right word relative to some of the wealth in America. Maybe I didn't go hungry. We never had anything like that. But I wouldn't say that we had a lavish lifestyle for sure. My dad's blue collar. My mom was blue collar as well. And so the mindset was go get a job, just like a lot of us had. Go get a job, work there, do a pension, 401k, retire at 65. Right. That's a lot of our generation had that same message, and it's difficult when you have access to, when other people in your cohort have access to parents who are successful business owners or have been an entrepreneur, or they figured it out, right? That the message that comes to that child is way radically different than the message of someone that's a child of a blue collar worker or somebody that doesn't have those things, because there's nothing wrong with that lifestyle. It's just I'm a perfect case of that, right? Nothing wrong at all with that lifestyle, but I wanted more, right? I wanted to be independently wealthy. I did not, like, I can vividly recall the moment after getting out of college. I was sitting in traffic at like 8:15 in the morning, knowing I was going to be late for this 8:30 meeting. And I was just out of college, and I was like, fuck, I have to do this for the rest of my life. Shit. I was like, I can't do this. And so I always knew that I wanted to do something more, or didn't want to work for somebody else, but I didn't know how to do it. And it took a mentor, my first sales manager, kind of like pushing me and asking me, like, dude, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to work for somebody else for your entire life? Do you want to make something for your own? And I was like, I don't know. I've never been exposed to this, but I know that I don't like this. And so it's kind of like asking yourself those hard questions and taking a bit of a leap of faith. But I would get so frustrated and kind of disgruntled because I tried so many things to learn about. My thing was education, self-teaching myself education. A self-taught photographer, a video editor, self-taught photo editor, AI stuff, right? I tried to learn Forex trading and option, like all that other stuff, right? And so just figuring out what are some ways I could get some financial relief to not be in this capitalist rat race. And eventually I found something, and I was so exasperated. Like, I wish I could just have somebody that would say, all right, Marcus, you got to go here. You got to take this step. You got to learn
press this button.
This
is the money button. Just keep it present.
It's not going to happen. Most of the time, it won't happen like that. Mentors will help out, right? They can help point you in the right direction. Shout out to Rob. Rob has been such a help for me. Rob from Growth Collective. With like turning into a consultant, right? Because I've been service-based.
Which Rob?
Rob Freeland.
Oh, gotcha.
Retired Rob.
Yeah.
He ran a consulting firm and made an exit with it and did very well. And so he's been helping me kind of navigate the change into being a consultant, because it's different than what I was doing before, which was, all right, you want marketing automations to follow up with your leads and to track your revenue and sales. All right, you're going to need this CRM, you're going to need this automation, you're going to need that, right? It'll take me 15 hours to do it. I'm going to charge you $2,500, right? Very simple, very easy to do. Now, consulting, I got to talk to you for a while. I got to ask you a bunch of questions, and we'll see if it can be done. It's going to be $5,000 for this conversation, right? So it's a very difficult thing to quantify, because I feel like I like to be very fair with people. And I still struggle a little bit with thinking of charging people for this amount of money when it doesn't equate to the same amount of time that it would take to earn that money. But it's not about the time, it's about the time spent doing it and the time spent learning to get me to this point here.
I love that, because like there's only so many, like the if you're in the service industry and you're basically doing that service, you only can do it like how many you can do a day. You maybe can do 1 or 2 max. Maybe if you do it right, it's probably taking longer. But consultant, you can consult many more, and you don't struggle as much.
Yeah, especially if like you set it up the right way, that you are, which is what I'm so happy that I've. Again, speaking things into existence, I have said throughout the course of my career, I love the communication aspect of my job. I love asking questions, uncovering ideas, uncovering possibilities. I hated actually then going and executing those ideas.
Doing the work is always shitty.
Yeah. So like the idea is good, and like what I really wanted was the ability to just rapid fire with a bunch of clients. Here's the ideas. Here's what I think we could do. Here's what you need to execute it. All right, go put it to your teams. Come back in a month. Let's see how it did. Right, and you just iterate that. Okay, well it did. Maybe it worked out well here. Let's tweak it a little bit and try it again, and just kind of rinse, repeat that process. I'm a bit of an idea person. So like I love that. And now consulting is what I do. Hey, you can do this, you can't do that. Here's how you do it. Yeah, so on and so forth.
Damn. I mean, like that sounds like amazing, but how do you get started as a consultant? Because like, would you price your service cheaper than actually doing the work because you just mention how to do it, or should you, just charge more just to look more authoritarian?
Well, it's up to you, right, as the individual that's going to do this. But my approach was I gave my time freely. I went to ESC every Thursday and stood up and I said, I need I want to talk to you, right? I want to know how you want to use AI. I'll give you 30 minutes of my time for free. All that I'm going to ask is if you give me a Google review if you found it helpful. And I had a bunch of free AI consults, and I learned a lot about how people were using these tools, what they wanted to use it for, and I built my social proof after that too, right? So I did the free route. And I did charge discounted rates to prove proof of concept, to prove models, right? Because I'm very, very conscientious of not delivering a solid product. Like my skin crawls if I don't deliver what I think is valuable for somebody. I absolutely hate it. So I am definitely in the camp of discounting first to establish authority. But once that authority has been established, that's the turning point. Like you gotta stop it at that point. You have to figure out what's the point at enough is enough. So like that's a fine line.
Damn. I mean, like, that is, like, so far, we're getting a little bit long here now, so I'm just like, we've got to save the space on the cards, and I'm just like, nearly 2 hours, my man.
Whenever you want to shut it off, I'm good.
I still have, like, so many questions about AI, and I'm like, obviously, it may go dark, it may not go dark, but what is your ideal outcome for the positive side? How do you imagine the future? Give us the hopes.
Sunshine and rainbows. No, I mean, like, if I got my pie in the sky view of this, I would love to have, like, exactly what we have now. But, like, I think, here's a real pie in the sky version for me, and there's a guy on YouTube and TikTok doing this, Jarvis from Iron Man. Can take actions in your house, can answer questions free form, not like Siri and Alexa, because they suck at answering questions, right? Ask it questions, get relevant answers, ask follow-ups, have it give you new information based off of that, and also the ability to take action after that. Like, that would be such an ideal utopia for me. But I think at that point, there's probably so much other stuff that's also at the same time. So, like, that's my low-hanging fruit for that, is to have a Jarvis in my house.
Okay, I love that. How can people find you?
I am the AI Consulting Lab on all of my socials. So at the THE Consulting Lab.
I love it. So give this man a shout out, check him out, and maybe buy his course. You got a course?
Yeah, I got a course.
Sell? Come on, pitch some.
I do have an AI automations masterclass. So this is kind of like essentially maybe my journey in a nutshell of like learning automations and how to tie them together with AI. And I also include the blueprints, for example, of how to do certain automations, right? So RSS newsfeed automatically come into your inbox every day as a newsletter. Creating the social content that I mentioned earlier about taking a recording, turning it into several different pieces of content. I'll give you all the prompts for that and teach you all about automations from a beginner to like an power user, so you can actually go out and do this for your business, or if you wanted to do it as a side hobby or a hustle or a main job, you can go and create these automations for folks.
I love that. And now, lastly, we need to speak the two free things into existence. What we're missing? We're missing the speaking event. How many speaking events do we need?
I need 6 more speaking events.
Okay.
And I just need December to hit for me to be in a. I'm not like I could, I'm sure, go grab a lease for a decent payment right now, but I'm perfectly content to stay in the Golden Goose until December and then go find a newer vehicle. But that's it. That's it for right now.
Yeah, I love it. So I would say thank you for being on the Create Before Consume.
Thanks for having me.
Podcast. And I hope you have a good day. And you guys, like, subscribe. See you guys.